was not meant to happen. This could not happen. This is happening.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, another super exciting episode of the Coach's Son Parks the Bus this week. We've got our first guest from overseas. We've had international guests before, but this is our first one tuning in from the UK. He's the newly appointed, this is exclusive to the Australian media right now, exclusive, newly appointed Bolton Wanderers women's manager, Myles Smith. Myles, welcome to the Coach's Son.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on. Look forward to it.
Sure, it's probably the most exciting thing of your week this week. You were saying before you've got well, the new gig officially starts next week, but obviously you're looking forward to get on the podcast.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm always happy to speak to people and come on shows, and yeah, it's always a pleasure. So it is exciting for me for sure.
This poor bloke literally starts on Monday and he's talking to these idiots from Australia. So we really appreciate it.
No, guys, all good. My
Let's bring it way back, Myles. So, did you play growing up, and sort of how did you find yourself coaching? What inspired that?
Yeah, I played. I played similar to the 1.8 million people that are playing in the UK. But it's I wasn't ever going to be a professional footballer. I think I knew that from quite an early age, to be honest. I played as a kid, but I played many other sports as well. You know, I played tennis, did a little bit of rugby, did a bit of athletics. So yeah, I played football, but it was just one of many sports. And I think that's probably what drove me into coaching, you know, because I knew I wasn't going to be a professional footballer. I reckon from maybe even 14, 15 years old. And at that time, you obviously have to be a little bit mature to give up on the dream. But the next best thing is coaching, right? So that's sort of what led me to my coaching, was being a failed footballer.
It'd be difficult, obviously, for a 14, 15-year-old to then realise, you know what, I'm probably not going to make it, because that's probably those years where they're really starting to obviously grow and develop and trying to break into your reserve grades and your first teams, and it's just touching distance away, but you're going, that's not for me, guys. I'm going to tell you guys what to do.
Yeah, I remember I spent a week at United, at Man United. I always say United. I have to start saying the full name. I spent a week at Man United, and I remember I came home after that week thinking, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do this. Just surrounded by these players and these people, and there was loads of them. I just thought, this is going to be tough. So yeah, started my coaching badges.
Yeah, just on your coaching badges, also we've done a little bit of research on you. We did notice you're a UEFA licensed coach. What does that actually mean, and what kind of training and courses do you have to go through to get these badges and coaching licenses?
Yeah, so I guess the FA have got, they're all called different names now, but when I was doing them, there's level 1 is kind of your introduction to coaching. Then you have your level 2, UEFA B, UEFA A, and then pro license. Now, though the courses are quite hard to get on, to be honest. There's a lot of people that go on them through either England FA, Welsh FA, Scottish FA, Irish FA, but they are worldwide recognised licenses, if you like, qualifications. I think if you was to go to America and get a UEFA license there, it wouldn't be recognised in England, as an example. So the ones in the UK are recognised worldwide. But yeah, it's they're sort of just coach education courses. Every job now requires probably minimum UEFA A, UEFA B, some. But UEFA A, UEFA B licenses is the minimum criteria now, and it's just kind of like, I guess if you was applying for any other job that asks for a university degree or a master's degree, it's kind of like the football equivalent, if you will.
Through doing your licenses and going through all that training, I mean, I've heard of stories of current, Premier League managers and international level managers that go and see these and give advice to young coaches growing up as well. Did you get to meet any big names doing these badges?
I wouldn't say so much during the badges, but throughout my career, throughout my experience, yeah, I've worked with with a lot of people that have been massively influential on me. I think a guy called Greg DeCarnis is somebody who brought me into football. He's done a lot in the game. He was at West Ham for 13 odd years as the head of elite performance. Josh Ewens is the men's West Ham fitness coach. I'm not sure if he's head of fitness or fitness coach. That may have changed recently. But then people like Terry Wesley, Tony Carr, Slavan Bilic, David Moyes. So yeah, a lot of people. Ollie Harden, Matt Beard, Paul Konchesky. So there's a lot of people I've worked with throughout my career that have massively influenced me. The coaching badge is probably not so much. I think once you get onto your pro license, I think that's where you see some of the more bigger names on that cards.
Well, you spent a lot of time at West Ham too, so you would have seen a lot of people coming in and even going out, and hopefully be onto bigger and better things. Does anyone really stand out to you that you recognise?
Staff wise,
both staff and players.
Yeah, I worked with. So in the men's side, I worked with a lot of players now that are doing extremely well. The most obvious one is Declan Rice, obviously Arsenal and England, and dare I say a future England captain in my eyes in time to come. He's the most obvious one, but there's so many more. Josh Cullen at Burnley, Lewis Page has had a great career in the game. Elliot Lee at Wrexham. There's a myriad of players. Ben Johnson at West Ham, Grady Diangana at West Brom, Marcus Brown, he's at Oxford now. There's loads. There's absolutely loads.
Yeah.
That's the ones off the top of my head. And then staff-wise, as I say, I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of great people who have taught me a lot of great things over the years, and I think that's without them, I wouldn't be in the position I am today. That is absolutely for sure.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is when Declan Rice is lifting the trophy and scoring the winning goal, taking his shirt off, he's going to have your name because you literally made him.
Yeah, maybe not quite. Maybe not quite, but no, I do pop him a text message every now and then. You know, when he first got the England captaincy not long ago, and you know that listen, I played a very, very small part in its development. I don't even like speaking about any of it, to be honest. I didn't do anything, but yeah,
We're cutting this bit out.
I still give him a text every now and then. It's just proud. You know, when you see players doing well, whether it's on the pitch or whether it's off the pitch, you know, I've got players both in the men's and women's game that have gone on to do some incredible stuff off the pitch as well, and it just makes you proud. You know, it's almost like I'm not a father, but it feels like a father type moment. You know.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Sort of moving on a little bit, recently you've just finished up your time in the Middle East. So with the Saudi League, was there anything particular that they might be doing to, say, attract interest? Was there anything particular that caught your attention before moving over there? And how was your time there?
Yeah, for sure. I think the role that I was offered, the thing that caught my interest was the potential that the project had and still has. Over there, women's football is it's just entering its third year now, so it is in its infancy, and with that comes huge potential. Often comes a blank canvas, and I think most managers, assistant managers, coaches, whatever you want to call it, blank canvas and projects with huge potential is things that you want to get stuck into. You know, that's the really interesting stuff. So that's what caught my eye when I was offered the role, and on top of that, just being able to like be an advocate for change, you know, and just being able to like hopefully improve people's lives and have some amazing memories with people that you might never have done if it wasn't for the job, and you know, just make new friends and try different things and go to a different country, all of those things, and you know, on top of that, there's no shying away from the package and the financial package and stuff over there. I'm not shy to speak about that. Obviously, it is more financially rewarding than in England. So there's a lot of reasons why I went, and I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved it over there. It was an incredible experience. It's one that I look back on fondly, and I enjoyed my time there 100%. Obviously, I have a new project at the moment, which I'm super excited to get stuck into. But yeah, no doubt one day in the future, Saudi Arabia is a place that I may be going to again. Who knows? Who knows what the future's hold? Right now, I'm obviously focused on my new projects.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that you've come out with a positive note, because sometimes you see it of things sort of ending badly, and whether that be with players or coaches. So it's kind of nice that you actually hear some positive notes coming out of that.
I suppose this thing as well, because you hear a lot of older heads in the game speaking about young players, like suggesting to go and visit. Speaking about players, obviously going to visit abroad and learn abroad. You could probably say the same thing with young coaches as well, like going abroad and learning a different way that can actually really improve from different angles and different ways that you might have never felt that you felt that you would have needed, because you've never actually experienced different ways, whether it's way to translate things on the pitch or even at training from a language perspective is just 1% that you could potentially learn and pick up somewhere outside of your own home.
100%. And look, to be completely honest, I've always sort of snubbed it and almost put my nose up at it a little bit. That sounds a bit arrogant, but I've almost like England and the Premier League and WSL is the best league in the world. Arguably, I guess. So I've always wanted to work in England, and I've never wanted to do the whole move. I mean, a lot of coaches in England often do the America route and go coach in America and coach at these camps and stuff in America. I've never been one for that, really. I've always wanted to stay in England because it's the best. This is the best. This is where I want to be. But I must say, it has completely changed my mind on it. Working abroad, coaching abroad, and obviously the Middle East is a place where not Saudi Arabia is a place where not huge amount of people have been, not huge amounts of people have worked, and yeah, it's completely changed my mindset on it, and it's quite refreshing actually. I found it really refreshing going over there and coaching in a different culture, coaching in a different environment, learning a different culture. It's certainly opened up my eyes to possibilities in the future for sure.
There you go,
Awesome.
Stephen.
Awesome, and yeah, I've been wanting to ask you this question all day. There was another Englishman that went over to Saudi around the same time as you. His name's Steven Gerrard. Not too sure if you've heard of him before. You would have seen his absolute joke of a welcome intro video when he was like doing his selfie like this. Hi, I'm Steven Gerrard of Al Ettifaq or whatever they're called. Did it ever cross your mind to do one? It's just send it to your mates and be like, "Hi, I'm Myles Smith, Al Etihad," and take the absolute Mickey out of Steven Gerrard.
I mean, it probably did cross my mind. I did see the video, and it was quite funny. I think there's a lot of players. I remember who else has done something like that. Joey Barton did it, I think, didn't he? I think did he go to Marseille and he started speaking in a French
accent? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny when Eric Dyer moved to Bayern Munich only many months ago, and then Joe Biden, I think, retweeted his video up against an Eric Dyer video. And it's like, if you want to do a fake accent, you've got to be a bit better than that. Just learn from this guy. Because it was claiming Eric Dyer did a bit of a fake accent in Germany.
Yeah, what my sister actually has done it. My sister's in Australia. She's got a residency out there. But she went over and she was there for about a year. She's been there now, 13 odd years. But she was there for about a year, and she came back to England and she started to speak with a twang. And we all looked at her. And like, what are you doing? Like, you're obviously putting that on. That doesn't happen after a year. Yeah, she stuck with it for 2 weeks, so maybe it does happen to some.
Potentially. Well, you're talking about obviously going to Saudi Arabia. Still early days of women's football. They're only 3 years, but how have you seen the women's game, improve and develop over the last 10 years? And off the back of that, where can you see it going in the next 10 years?
In Saudi or in England?
Women's football in general.
Women's football in general. Yeah, I mean, look, the evolution of it has been absolutely incredible. I think I don't know the numbers or the stats or the figures or anything like that, but just from perception, just from looking at it, it's got to be one of the fastest growing sports or businesses or models or, that we've seen in very recent times for sure. I mean, when I first started in women's football, I moved across from West Ham men's to West Ham women's. And yeah, from what it was then, whereby players were all voluntary, part-time, training a couple of nights a week. You had a budget on a shoestring. to now is just incredible. And everybody that works in it, whether it is grassroots, under 9s, 10s coaches on a Sunday morning, whether it's the FA or any other federations in the world, whether it's coaches, managers, whoever it is, kick people, they all deserve huge amounts of credit, because every single individual that works in the game, works in the women's football, has been a part of driving that forward. And now you look at, record crowds that are going out there, the amount of people that are tuning in to watch it, the amount of players that are playing, the amount of opportunities that now young girls have. I saw a picture once, you might have seen it. It went viral online. There was an aeroplane. I think it was the women's. I think it was the Euros final or the World Cup final, and every single aeroplane screen across this aeroplane had him on.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Like, that wouldn't have been the case. So the fact of how much it's growing and developing, every single person that steps into the women's game, no matter what the role is, no matter how many hours they've done, they deserve huge amounts of credit. And it's nice to be a part of it. It's so nice to be a part of something that's growing, and you're a part of this evolution, and everybody's so passionate about growing it. And that was nice in Saudi as well. That was one of my reasons for going out there. That I played a part in growing the game in England for 5-6 years or so, and then to go out to another country and be able to do that all again was something that was extremely appealing to me.
We actually did a podcast episode maybe a couple of months ago. James and I did one, and we were sort of running through the top viewed sports of all time. And funny enough, now the Women's World Cup has actually popped into the top 5, that recent World Cup that had just happened. And it was unbelievable. Some of the sports events that had actually passed. So it's really awesome what's happening in the game at the moment.
For sure, yeah.
Well, we definitely felt the buzz. Obviously, Australia hosting the World Cup. I think, obviously, off the back of the Matildas, the Australian team, their success as well, it definitely did help. But everyone was talking about it at work. Everyone was making sure they wanted to get home from work to watch not only the Australian team play, but also the other teams as well. So the longer that competition went on, we felt like it just grew in the space of that month, which is fantastic. I mean, with the World Cup, I mean, did you come out here at all to watch any of the games, or did you manage to catch any games overseas if you were so overseas?
Yeah, I didn't manage to get out there. It was when I just started my role at Etihad, so I flew out to Jeddah. I think I can't remember what month it was now, May or June, I think. I flew out to Jeddah, but I watched as many games as we could. But I've got so many players that are playing for so many different countries. For Australia, Emily Van Egmond is a player I used to coach, and very close with still now. And obviously, so I was watching her and wanted you guys to do well. But it gets to a stage where you've got a player almost in every country, so you don't. Really, I want England to win, but at the same time, you're kind of like, I want them to do well and them to do well. It gets quite conflicting, but. No, listen, it looked like an amazing event. You guys did an incredible job as a country hosting it and put on a great show. And look, even my niece, she's, as I said, my sister lives in Australia with my niece, and she's 3-4 years old. And I FaceTimed her and she was asking me about the Matildas and do you know any players?
Yeah.
Like, that's incredible, right? Like that's what you want. You wouldn't have got that even in the women's game, even maybe 5 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. So it's coming an incredible way.
Would you say, sorry, Steve, just touching on that, you'd mentioned that when you're watching, potentially you're seeing someone that you've coached or that that are in the games. Would you say that that's probably your best reward to date after coaching, is seeing those that you might have had an impact that are on the field still?
Yeah, I think that is undoubtedly my best reward for sure. But when I retire eventually, I'm hoping that I've got loads of trophies in the cabinet and all the rest of it, but that won't be the stuff that I remember. The stuff that I remember will be, like you said, managing to help people on their journey, managing to try and help people reach their potential, try and make them the best version of themselves. And the memories that come across with all of that, and just being a small part in helping people, I guess. I think it sounds a little bit cliche, but it genuinely is like, yes, of course, I want to win trophies. Of course I could. There's nobody that wants it more than me. But at the same time, being able to have an impact on people's lives and all the memories that you create with people is the stuff that's really rewarding, you know.
I was just going to say, but on the back of the World Cup, Australia had a friendly against China not too long ago, and they had 75,000 people turn up to a friendly match, which is more than what other major sports like cricket and that get here, which was absolutely incredible just for a friendly match. Insane. Cast your mind back, 2015, you became the strength and conditioning coach at Leeds United, which was only an internship. Rugby league, massive sport where we come from. How the hell did that job come about, and do you follow it at all?
God, yeah, you know my career better than I do. When you say it's about, I'm thinking, what was I doing back then? Yeah, well, I guess it came about from being a nuisance. To be honest, I don't know how old I was, 19-ish, roughly, maybe. And just sending email after email after email after email to as many different people as I could. I was at university at the time in Leeds, studying in Leeds sports science. And that was how I got into sport, actually. I didn't get into sport through coaching. I got into sport through sports science. And it started off in rugby. So it was an internship with Leeds Rhinos. I had a tutor at the university called Ben Jones, who I got on with really well. He was a massive influence on Leeds Rhinos at the time. I think he headed up sort of all the fitness aspects and sports science aspects of Leeds Rhinos at the club. So I asked if I could go in and shadow and help out just, once a week or whatever. And that turns into 2 days a week or 3 days a week. And before you know it, you're not turning up to any lectures and you're working at Leeds Rhinos, doing all the jobs that nobody wants to do. So that's kind of how it started. But I think from that age, I kind of knew that I had to do extra stuff on top of my degree. Your degree, I look at my degree taught me education. It taught me theories, but it didn't give me a job. It didn't put me in an environment, and it didn't give me any experience. So you have to get practical and in the field type experience. And so that's what I tried to do. I tried to get in as many places as I could. And Leeds is, I'm going to get slaughtered for saying this. Leeds is a rugby, or it used to be at the time, a rugby city. The football team weren't doing great, and the Leeds Rhinos were on fire. It was a rugby city at the time, so that was my best chance of getting into sport. But I always knew that I wanted to get into football, so I knew what I was doing. I knew I was doing some strength and conditioning with Leeds Rhinos, so then I could go to another club, football ideally, and say, look, I've done all this strength and conditioning here. It was just something to put on my CV and a lot of stuff to learn, and that's what happened. But I ended up moving to Castleford Tigers, actually. I don't know if you guys picked that up, which are their rivals. They're huge rivals. So, yeah.
So pretty much the fans are all singing and chanting about your name when they play each other then. For God.
Myles is a Sol Campbell at Spurs.
The rugby version.
Do you still follow rugby league or?
I don't. No, I don't. To be honest, I took that role, and I must admit, hand on heart, I didn't even know the rules. I did not even know the rules of the game. To be honest, I didn't really have to because I was in the gym. I was gym-based. I was strength conditioning coach. But yeah, it didn't help me when I've got these big I'm quite a small frame, but I've got these big bruises and they're squatting all this weight in the bench, and they're talking to me about the game, and I'm just like, yeah. Good try.
I'll give you a bit of an insight. I guarantee 90% of the players don't even know majority of the rules either. So don't feel too hard about yourself.
I'm pretty sure I did get away with it. I'm pretty sure I did.
How many podcast interviews have you been on that actually ask you about rugby league?
This is the first one.
We'll go back to football if we can. I don't know if we can about rugby league, but the Olympics is coming up, and that is huge for women's game. You're going to be keeping your eye on that. You're going to maybe potentially even go over to watch a few games because it's in Paris, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Sorry, guys, if my phone's in the background.
No, you're good.
Yeah. No, I will try. Yeah, for sure. As I said, I've just started a new role again, so timing's not great, but yeah, we'll see.
With now going back obviously to your new gig, the big one being Bolton. Just for the people listening and watching, what does the women's FA tiering system look like? Where do Bolton currently sit within that scope? And with you at the helm, where are they going to get to?
Yeah, so they're currently in Tier 6. With me at the helm, they'll go to Tier 1.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's what I want to hear.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to follow the journey now, so
100%.
No, famous last words, eh? But no, so you have there's I don't know how many tiers, maybe there's 7 or 8 tiers in the women's game in England. You have Tier 1, which is the WSL, which I've sort of spent most of my career. Tier 2 is the Women's Championship, and then Tier 3 is the National League, and that's sort of split into North and South. So you have a Northern League and a Southern League, just to help with things like travel and things like that. And then it sort of goes down from the National League, and it's kind of bracketed up into, I guess, like National League Division 1 and Premier League, and then you have the county leagues and that type of thing. So at the moment, Bolton are in Tier 6, and a big part of my role is getting them out of there and getting them as close to Tier 1 as we can go. And that's why I took the job, to be honest. The club have just been taken in-house by the men's team. So what happens in England, there's quite a lot of clubs that sort of sit within the community of the club section, like the foundation element. And then some clubs will move their team into the women's game, move their team into the men's department, invest money and want to sort of kick on with it. That's what Bolton have just done. So they want to kick on. They're a huge club, a club that are pushing to be promoted and get higher up the leagues in the men's. And now it's time for the women's. I think it's no secret that Bolton women shouldn't be in Tier 6 with the club that they are. And yeah, it's my job to try and get them out of that.
Bolton definitely their household name, even in Australia, right? So obviously their time in the Premier League. What can the fans expect from a Myles Smith managed team, right? Ancelotti once said that he doesn't need a resume, he doesn't need a CV. If you want to know what he's going to provide, come and watch his football team. If we're going to come and watch your team, what will we say?
Well, I'll have to answer that based off past teams that I've coached. I don't like to ever copy and paste a philosophy into another club or another team. And the reason I can't answer that for Bolton yet is because I've not yet met the team, seen the players, so I'm not sure what playing style, game strategy is the best. There's no point of me trying to replicate what we did at West Ham or Man United or at Etihad with this team because I have completely different players, completely different characters, a completely different team. Every environment is so unique. But how I generally like to play is fast, attacking, exciting football. That sort of bumps off seats type of game for the fans. Like to try and play possession-based football, try and dominate the ball, and very aggressive out of possession. High pressing team when possible, when suitable. And like I said, if we don't have the ball, trying to get the ball as much as possible and win it back, suffocate our opponents with the right timing. But ultimately, at the same time, winning is what we're judged on, and winning is what keeps us jobs, and losing is what loses our jobs. So, with all of that said, yes, I like to play football with a certain brand, with a certain style. But for me, whatever is the best chance of winning. Whatever gives me the most chance of winning at first team football is the one that I go with. And my job in next week when I start the role is to have a look at the team, bring a team together. There'll be some players that leave, there'll be some players that come in. And once we've got the team finalised, then to try and put together what is the best way to win with this team. And that's what I'll be doing.
Awesome. So set the scene for us, Miles. First day you walk through the doors, what do? Do you set up the cones for beep test, or you get friendly on first day?
No, there won't be any test. I think it's important that we get the right people in the environment. Without having the right people in the environment to start with, it's a very difficult job. So that's both players and staff. And for me, as soon as I go in, it's kind of I like to almost take a bit of a step back and analyse and have a look. I like to try to get to know what's happened here in the past, what the story's been so far, and where the club are at today, where the team are at today, and where the individuals within that, how they're feeling. And then, ultimately, for want of a better term, ship out the ones that don't fit or I don't think will fit into what we're trying to do. Bring in other people that are going to fit. And then ultimately, I guess go from there. Then you get on the training pitch and obviously pre-season. So for me, everybody thinks pre-season's around about sort of pre-season fitness and you have to, get your fitness up. And of course, that's an element of it. But for me, it's a very tactical time. It's a time where I'm never going to get 7 or 8 week block without having a competitive game again this season. So for me, I need to make sure that this team knows exactly how we want to play inside out tactically. And that's probably minimum 2 systems that the players will be going through. So yes, of course, there's the fitness aspect of pre-season, but for me, we have to make sure we get the game strategy right. I think that'll be the main focus for the 7 to 8 weeks.
When does the season actually start?
We start, what are we in now? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, or second week of August. Second week of August. We got the date released last week. So the second Sunday in August, I think, is our first game. Fixtures haven't been announced yet. But I've got roughly around 7 weeks from next Monday.
Awesome. Right. Well, Stephen, you'll be in the UK after in October.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
You might have to go to.
I'll bring the flares.
Absolutely.
My Smiles with Myles banner. I might go with my good mate Declan Rice.
If I can manage to get into a game, I think there'll be a lot more people in the stands. That is for sure. No, you're more than welcome. Please don't let me know when you're in the UK. Though it'd be nice to hook up for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We'll do,
absolutely. Have you You mentioned you're watching the Euros. You got a specific winner, of course, England, but anyone that's standing out for you?
Spain looked great the other night. Dark horse, I'm not sure. There's a lot of teams that have got some great teams on paper. Like Belgium have got a great squad. Netherlands have got a great squad. But yeah, Spain looked good the other night. But I don't know. I've got to say England, haven't I? But it's not the most positive. It's not looking great, but I think we'll do okay.
You're allowed to say England, considering obviously the squad that they've got, and they are many people's favourites to win the competition. So I mean, if you're talking back years ago, I would know you're just saying England because you're English, but you've got every right to say England because I did pick them to win this year. And I think we all three of us, we did like a Euro previews episode a couple of weeks ago. The three of us all had the same player to watch, which was Musiala, who's started off on fire for Germany. I can't remember. Stephen, who did you have? Adam, who did you guys have to win?
I had Netherlands.
There you go.
Which I think you mentioned straight
friends, of course. I had friends. Couldn't go past them.
Yeah. Top 3 in the betting odds.
Too easy to choose.
Hey, only hear it first here on the pod, mate.
Exclusive. Steve, I think that's come to that time for the big question. Obviously, we had to explain to Myles before we started recording, guys, what a coach's son actually is, or for his sake, it might be a coach's daughter, but it could be the new thing amongst your teams and the people that you speak to. I mean, it could be the new, I won't say insult. It's not much of an insult, but you could start walking around calling people the coach's son or the coach's daughter. So, Stephen, you're honest this week.
You've pretty much just said it, but Myles, who is your coach's son/daughter nomination?
Yeah, it's a really tough question, that, guys.
It always is. You always start sweating just before you try to answer it.
Yeah, and I'm wearing grey as well. Okay, look, I think if I was to name a player who didn't hit the expectations that everybody thought that they were going to, I think that's how I'm going to answer this one. So at the time when I was at West Ham, we had a young lad, Reece Oxford, who 16 years old came onto the scene. And when I say come onto the scene, I mean publicly. He played a game against Arsenal at the Emirates for West Ham first team, and he had an unbelievable game. Played against, one of his jobs was to sort of help stop Ozil, and he did that very well. And then from there, he didn't really kick on. I think he's playing Germany somewhere now. Thinking maybe in the second division in Germany or something like that. So I think that's kind of the one.
Okay.
I know I've mentioned that great, and I've sat on the fence a little bit. But
I was going
we'll
to say,
take it.
all the coaches we've had on the podcast always take the easy way out by saying, "Oh, he's got had the potential." But really, obviously, and anybody else we ask, well, players as such, they're out there running out their teammates every single time. God, this bloke doesn't have the training on time, but he's always starting and he's always talking to the coach about this. But the coaches we have on the podcast, they're always a bit more clever, I think, with their answers.
Yeah, well, I think at the time, when Reece was coming through, you had Reece Oxford, and I think a lot of people thought that he was going to be the next academy graduate. And quietly, alongside him was Declan Rice, very quietly. And it's funny how it works out. I think it just goes to show that nobody knows whether you're a scout, a coach, whatever it may be, no matter how much experience you've got. Nobody knows who's going to be the next professional footballer, because you're trying to read into the future. There's so many variables and so many things that influence it, like you just don't know. And that's why I find it crazy where people, release players at 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, because how do you know they're not going to be a professional footballer? And that's why selection for me at such a young age is I'm not in favour of it. But yeah, you all have confirmation bias, and you all hear people say, "Oh, I knew he was going to be. I told you he was going to be," and I knew at 14 years old. Well, yeah, you might have. What about the 150 that you said also?
So in saying that, if you were to go back and speak to your 14-year-old self, would you say, "No, listen, you don't know. You
Got me. Yeah, good point. Yeah, checkmate on that one. Yeah, you know what? I might get the boots back on and keep trying.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Guys, any other last questions you have for Myles?
No, you've been awesome.
No. Well, where were you born? Grimsby, is that right? You from there?
Yeah.
So you didn't grow up being a Grimsby Town supporter?
I follow them. I was very much put in a Man United kit from a very young age, so I didn't have a choice.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Brought into it.
Well, United fans, listeners.
Thank you very much, Myles. It's been amazing, and we wish you the best of luck in the new gig when it all kicks off. We'll be watching. We'll keep in track.
We'll be following the journey, mate.
100%.
We'll be following up soon.
So wish you all the best in that. Thanks very much for your time. Much appreciated.
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
everyone,
Myles.
that is Coach's Son Parks the Bus, episode 5 with Myles Smith. Thanks, everyone.
This was not meant to happen.